Economics. Today we are going to complete chapter 5, the government budget and the economy. Okay, so we are going to discuss the last part of this lesson, especially in the fiscal policy. In this lesson, what are the various things that we have discussed, children? A quick recall of whatever we have spoken about in this particular lesson. We came to know about what is a budget. It's a fiscal statement, a financial statement of both the receipts and the expenditures faced and incurred by a government. Right, children? And how it is going to affect the economy is what we are trying to understand in this particular chapter. We have discussed about revenue budget and capital budget. Two different accounts are there under the topic of government budget. So revenue budget means anything and everything related to that particular financial year is called as a revenue budget. But when you talk about something that is related with the next subsequent years, then they are called as what? The capital budget. Right, children? So what are the two things? Revenue budget and capital budget. Under the topic of revenue budget, we spoke everything related to that, like receipts and expenditures, and the difference between the expenditure and the receipts would be termed either a surplus or deficit. We came to know that a lot of time the government goes through the deficit budget, and there are three different kinds of deficit. Right? What are they? The revenue deficit, the fiscal deficit, and primary deficit. Out of this, the revenue deficit is related with what, children? The revenue budget. The revenue expenditure minus the revenue receipts give you the revenue deficit. And then we moved on to talk about the objectives of government budget. What are the various functions of the government budget? We have the allocation function, the redistribution function, and the stabilization function. Right, these three things. And then we spoke about classification of receipts, like revenue receipts and capital receipts. Same way, expenditures, we spoke about capital expenditures and revenue expenditures. Further, we moved on to discuss about balanced, surplus and deficit budget. What is a balanced budget, children? When the expenditures are equal to the receipts that we have got, then it's a balanced budget. Then surplus budget, when the revenues, when the receipts are more than the expenditures, then it is called a what budget? Surplus budget. And when the expenditures are more than the receipts, so the income, then it is called as what budget, children? A deficit budget. A government always tries to have a balanced budget, but what happens? Either it goes to surplus or it lays down to deficit budget, right? And we have discussed various things about fiscal policy. So in that only we spoke about how government spending differs the aggregate demand. So far we have discussed in the previous chapter about the aggregate demand and equilibrium income and output in terms of two sectors, the households and the firms. And this chapter we added to discuss about the government sector also, how government spending, when government spending increases, what increases? Automatically the aggregate demand increases, and when the aggregate demand increases, definitely the output also should be increased. So it also, just like the investment multiplier, the government spending also goes into a multiplier. And then we moved on to talk about taxes, change in taxes. So how to manage the government spending, how to manage this deficit? By collecting taxes. The government starts collecting taxes from the people, and how the cut in taxes or increase in taxes are going to affect the aggregate demand, the output, and the equilibrium income and output is what we have discussed so far. And we have discussed about the transfers also. Now that we have talked about government spending, taxation and everything, we are going to talk about debt. What is it, children? We are going to talk about debt. So we are in chapter 5, the government budget and the economy. And we are at present discussing about debt. So we saw that whenever we have a budgetary deficit, where the government wants a deficit budget, it needs to manage it. How can it manage this deficit budget? Okay, the first thing that we are going to discuss is how is government going to manage this deficit that it is facing, it is either going to increase tax, okay, through taxation or by printing money or borrowing. These three options are there for the government to do what? To manage the deficit that it faces through this budget. What are the three things? Taxation, printing money and borrowing. Correct, children? So what are we going to do here? Taxation, yes, we have discussed. Printing money is a whole new different perspective. Okay, it's a whole new different perspective where the government asks the RBI to print more money because they are the issuing authority, right? So RBI has to print new money and it is even under supply of money and all those things. But mostly what happens, more than taxation and more than printing money, government goes into borrowing. Alright, because taxation, if there is an increase in tax, that decreases the disposable income. When the disposable income decreases, automatically consumption falls. When consumption falls, aggregate demand also falls. So when the demand falls, automatically the supply should be adjusted to that. Right, children? So when you don't have supply, you don't have income. So it is going to very effect. And printing money is a whole new sector. You need to have enough gold so that, and based on the gold limit that you have, you can print more money. Then we have borrowing. So government mostly relies on the part of borrowing. What does it rely on? It relies on borrowing. Right, children? So what does government opt for? It opts for borrowing. It goes for what? Borrowing. It is called as the government debt. This borrowing leads to what? The government debt. And that is what we are going to discuss in this particular video session. So what is it called? The concepts of deficits and debt are closely related. Deficit can be thought as a flow, okay, which add to the stock of debt. What happens here? Deficit is a flow that adds up to the stock of debt. What do they mean by this? For example, the government has a debt in the year 1999 to 2000, for example we are taking, okay? They the government will have a huge debt, the stock of debt will keep on increasing, and what you have to pay for the borrowing that you have done? Interest. The accumulation of debt and the accumulation of interest only will keep on increasing. The interest they paying themselves, the interest accumulation themselves become a debt. So we will have some 15%, 20% of interest means by the time you finish paying your loan, if you calculate, you would have paid at least half of the amount as debt itself, or half of the amount of the principal amount, like what? Interest itself. For example, when you have around 50,000, you have borrowed 50,000 as an individual. I'm saying if you have borrowed somewhere amount as 50,000 and you're paying an interest percentage, okay, after about 10 years you're paying, okay, each year you have to pay somewhere around 500 or you're paying around 1,000 or 2,000, whatever it is. You're paying for 10 years. Right, children? So it itself will become 20,000. For a loan amount of 50,000 rupees, you're paying an interest of almost equal of it, half of it, 20,000. It's not sure that we are going to have the same percentage. Something might change, the percentage might be increased. Right? Your financial position may change a lot of things. So for an individual, if it is going to be a burden, think about the government and think about the stock of debt it has and think about how much interest it has to pay. So the interest accumulated alone can become another debt. Right, children? So what happens? The interest to be paid itself would be a debt. So what happened? Along than paying the principal amount, the loan amount, the government has to pay. So what has to happen? The debt should be controlled. When first of all we should try not to have a deficit budget, we should go for a balanced budget. That is what we have discussed, how to balance it, government spending can be matched up with the taxes, everything we have discussed, but still it has fallen into a deficit, and how are we going to manage it is what we are going to discuss. So what are we going to discuss then? Perspectives on the appropriate amount of government debt. Fine, we are going to get, we are going to borrow, but what would be the appropriate amount? To which level should we get? Debt. For example, an individual who earns 10,000 rupees can get an amount that he can repay. Okay, just getting 10,000, if I am getting crores and crores of loans, how can I repay? So I have to borrow to the limit where I can repay that. Isn't it, children? Same way, a government should also borrow an appropriate amount which it can repay and which will not put the country into a dangerous position, into a recession. So what is it? It is a various perspectives. Various perspective means everybody's thought process is different. So what is the appropriate amount of government debt? So what are we doing? The appropriate amount of government debt that we can have. So here we have two interlinked aspects about this particular issue. What are these two interlinked aspects? First thing, is it a burden? First aspect is whether this borrowing, this government debt is a burden. That is the first aspect of thinking. And second aspect is the issue of financing the debt. How are we going to repay expand the business, what it will think, I should some way cover up this loan with the profit that I get through this particular branch, this particular division. So how do you finance a particular debt is another issue. So what are the two interlinked concepts, children, aspects of this? Whether government debt is itself a burden, and the second one is if or how are you going to finance the debt. So it is going to be different when you talk about debt as a burden to a businessman, how it is, and if a debt is going to be talked about in the point of view of government, how is it going to be? Okay, because both the situations are not same. If a trader has to face a debt, it is going to affect only him. But when the government faces a debt, it's going to affect the country. Yes or no, children? So the amount the government is going to pay through the interest or pay as the interest or principal amount of the loan to be repaying the debt, it can use the same amount for the welfare of the people. But what happens when the government has to repay a lot of loans and the stock of debt is so huge, it might restrict itself on the expenditures or on the welfare of the people that it is going to give. Right, children, that is the basic concept. It might shrink itself from spending for the welfare of the people. So imagine the government has a huge debt and at the same time you have to, just a welfare of the people. For that you are going to lay a road. The government is going to lay a road. So the government may restrict a few things here. It might postpone the laying of roads to the next year and talk about the debt at the present year. Okay, leaving the debt and laying the roads. What happens to the debt? Interest accumulates. Again you are going to collect a loan. That's going to be what? Capital receipt. Every year it's going to be an interest payment in your budget, and it is an expenditure which can never be claimed back. Right. So it's going to be really difficult. Only getting loan is a capital receipt. Correct. But repaying it is going to be what? A revenue expenditure. Interest payment is going to be revenue expenditure. Even primary deficit is going to be calculated by that only, by deducting the net interest liabilities only. Right, children? You remember gross fiscal deficit minus net interest on liabilities give you what? The primary deficit. Right, children? So revenue deficit is equal to revenue expenditure minus revenue receipts. Gross fiscal deficit is equal to what? Total expenditure minus revenue receipts plus non-debt creating capital receipts. Right, children? And then with that you have to follow with the gross primary deficit, which is gross fiscal deficit minus the net interest liabilities. Right, children? So interest liabilities play a huge role in our government budget. So government should think a lot before getting a debt and try to manage. So if a trader is there, if he has a liability, what happens? He has to take his personal assets and give it up. Unlimited liability, we have discussed. But do you think the government can do that? No. It can try to resolve its debt issue through taxation and printing money. Other two things are there, right? So how can it finance the debt? Through taxation and printing money. Like already discussed, this is also going to have its own demerits. Taxation is also going to have its own demerits, and when you go for discussing about printing money, it itself has a lot of restrictions and rules and regulations to be followed at that particular time. So when you go for borrowing, when the government goes for borrowing, the government transfers the burden of reduced consumption on future generations. So what does it do? On borrowing, what happens? The government on borrowing transfers the burden of what? Reduced consumption how of a home for the future generation. How do you think it happens? So in this particular financial year you have a deficit, you have a stock of debt. So the government needs to finance its debt through selling shares. Okay? It is going to give bonds. So when the government is issuing bonds, what do? Public, we need to pay for it. Right? We need to pay for it. For example, 10 rupees per bond is kept. Okay? And given to some 1 lakh people. 1 lakh people shares they buy. So they get 10 lakhs rupees. So what is going to happen? This happens in this particular financial year and the repaying the interest that the government owes to the people, okay, to the public to pay after 20 years. After 20 years the government says this 10 rupees will be paid as what? Will pay it as 15 rupees they say. Okay? For how many people? Same 1 lakh people. So what happens here? Becomes 15 lakhs. How do you think the government is going to raise this extra 5 lakhs? Through taxation. You are going to what? Taxation. And what is the years we have here? About a difference of 20 years. So when they have taxation to raise this 5 lakhs, because we saw that as a mean of financing the debt. When they have taxation, they increase the tax. And what did we see as the disposable income? Y is equal to Y minus T. So when the taxes are more, the disposable income of the future generation will come down. When the disposable income is less, their consumption will be less. Isn't it, children? So what are we doing there? After 20 years to repay some bond, they will be raising tax. Today we are enjoying it. Today we have bought the bonds. Today the government has completed its debt and it has financed it. Fine, done. The future generation is going to face this. They are going to have increased taxes and they are going to have less consumption just due to this. And what happens when disposable income falls? Definitely savings also will fall. And there comes what? Paradox of thrift will come. Savings will be less. And national savings also will become less. Isn't it, children? So everything is going to be affected in the future. What can we do that? To the extent that this reduces capital formation and growth, debt acts as a burden on future generations. So talking about this, what happens? What is the result we have? Burden for not the present people, for the future generation. How is it going to be there? Because when you have reduced disposable income after 20 years, when the government is going to increase taxes to repay this particular bond, interest for this particular bond, the taxes will be more and that will decrease the disposable income of the future generation, which will in turn affect the consumption. When the consumption becomes less, the output also should be brought down. That is not a good sign. So investment comes down, the growth also comes down. So debt is actually acting as a burden for who? For the future generation. Okay. So it has been argued that when a government cuts taxes and runs a deficit budget, consumers respond to their after-tax income by spending more. So what happens at one point of time? Okay, fine, we are not going to get tax. Budget is deficit, so we are not collecting tax. This option is kept out, and we are going to have what? We're going to borrow from other countries. This is record. So if in case a deficit budget is there and still the taxes were not increased, it's cut off. People, if the taxes are cut off in a budgetary deficit period, people will have more disposable income. More disposable income leads to more consumption. More consumption will affect the government because the debt is staying as it is, and in future again the future generation should be laid off with more taxes, and again who's going to suffer? Future generation might suffer because of this raised taxes. So expecting the future taxes to fall on the future generations is really short-sighted. Why do we say short-sighted? Because it's going to be somewhere related to us only. When we say future generations, it is going to have the future generations of our family members. My children, my grandchildren, your grandchildren, everybody are going to be in the future generation. For the fruit that I am eating today, they are going to have sufferings tomorrow in the future. Right, children? So what is some more people, they say that consumers won't think like that. When even a budgetary deficit is there, they try to save. Just because of what? Because they know that future generation is their family only. So borrowing today will increase the taxes in future. People know it. People are aware of it, they say. But do you think all the consumers are aware? Excuse me. Consumers are aware of it? Might not be. Right. So we say that we increase savings now, which will fully offset the increased government savings, so that national savings do not change. So we saw in paradox thrift that even if our savings is increased, thrift means what? Not spending more. Right. So when we spend more and more and more, fine. We are not spending more, we are saving a lot. So when we are increasing the savings, will it increase the national savings? It won't. It will either stay the same or it will decrease. Isn't it, children? Because when they are saving more, that means the marginal propensity to consume, the MPC becomes less. The consumption falls. When the consumption falls, automatically the demand falls. When the demand falls, the output falls. When the output falls, it goes into a negative multiplier, which is not good for the country. Right, children? So, what is this? We had a person called David Ricardo, and he gave an equivalence, okay, where it's going to be equal. That's called equivalence, right, students? So what are the things that are going to be equivalent? And it is called as the Ricardian equivalence. Okay, just like how economists give different theories and different viewpoints, here we have a new viewpoint related to the government debt, called as what, children? The Ricardian equivalence. Means what? Ricardian so it was given by who? David Ricardo. And what did he say? He first said that in the face of high deficits, people save more. It is called equivalence because it argues that taxation and borrowing are equivalent means of financing expenditure. So what did he argue? He said high deficits means people go for high savings. What happens? High deficits means high savings. Why? And how is it going to be equivalent? It is equivalent because what? Expenditure. It argues that taxation and borrowing are equivalent means of matching the deficit. So what are the two things? Taxation and borrowing are equal measures. So what we had a discussion where the government did not have the tax people go for saving more. Why? Because taxation and borrowing are equal measures for a government to handle this deficit, okay, for financing expenditure. So when the government increases spending by borrowing today, which will be repaid by taxes in the future, it will have the same impact on the economy as an increase in government expenditure that is financed by a tax increase today. So what is he arguing? He says that when government spends more today, so we have two conditions. Today, future. Okay, the first case is the government expenditure is more. Okay, in future it will be collected through taxes. Okay, the second condition is today the government is collecting taxes which will be invested in government expenditures of tomorrow. So it does not have a different aspect, both are same. Whether we are spending and our future generation is going to pay a tax, or we paying tax and tomorrow the future generation gets for spending, is both the same is what is argued by David Ricardo. So what is regarding equivalence? He says that people tend to save more in place of deficit. So when they are saving more, the government spending is not that much and they are ready to go for taxation. Right, children? So taxation and borrowing are equal measures. So at present, today's situation, the government goes for two measures. What are those? Borrowing, okay, and taxation. So taxation today leads to what? Government's increased spending tomorrow in future. First, what did we discuss? We discussed that government is spending today. It's just not increasing the taxes, just getting the borrowed amount, just getting the loans and spending it for people, which will be laid on the taxes tomorrow. So both do not have a difference. It's just the same as what is being argued. Right, children? So it has often been argued that debt does not matter because we owe it to ourselves. So the purchasing power remains with the nation, whether it is today or tomorrow. The purchasing power is said to be what? Remains with ourselves, within the nation. So our generation or the future generation, it is going to be within our country. So we always owe it to ourselves, to our country only we owe. Okay? The government lays roads today is also for India, for us. The government lays roads in the future, that is also for our country, for India. Similarly only happens with debt also. Okay? That is being argued in this particular Ricardian equivalence. Right, children? So any debt that is owed to foreigners only becomes a burden, because we need to send goods for the foreign countries. For the interest payment, we have to send the goods. So already first what did we discuss? We said that yes, of course, debt is a burden for the future generation was one thought, and then after discussing regarding equivalence, there was one more aspect, one more perspective. What is that perspective? That is both the situations are relatively the same, and when we owe it to our country, it does not matter because the purchasing power remains to us, it's not a debt at all. But when we owe something to foreigners, of course we need to repay them equally. That is a burden, is what we are discussing. So that was one perspective. What are the other perspectives on deficits and debt? Okay, what are the other perspectives on deficits and debt? Other perspectives on deficit and debt. What are the other perspectives? That is, deficits are inflationary, that is, it keeps on increasing, is the first thing. Debts are inflationary. We saw that interest payments also will stock up. the debt, and the deficit is a flow, and it adds up to the stock of debt we saw, right? It is why, because the government increases spending or cuts taxes, any one thing it happens, and the aggregate demand results in increasing only, and the firms have to produce higher quantities. So when they have to produce higher quantities on the present price, it's going to be a difficult thing, right? So what happens? It leads to increase in price. When there is an increase in price, people may not demand for it. So there may be some unutilized resources. So a high fiscal deficit is accompanied by a higher demand and greater output, and therefore need not be inflationary. So what is that? We are saying that we are arguing that it need not be inflationary. A high fiscal deficit is going to accompanied by what? When the fiscal deficit is high, what else is high? The demand is going to be high. When the demand is high, output is also high, and no inflationary position will arise, is what we are arguing. It has been argued that there is a decrease in investment due to a reduction in the amount of savings available to the private sector. So when the government decides to borrow money from the public, okay, we discussed that they are going to issue bonds. So when they are issuing bonds, the government issues bonds, and public, we go and buy those bonds. So there are no savings. Same way only happens in the private sectors also. They also go for what? They might also go for buying these bonds, and this will decrease their savings. And we saw that when the public sector is going to issue shares, public will buy that. So they might not have money when the private sectors are going to issue shares. So when they don't have enough savings, they cannot go for more investments. This is going to affect the private sector also. Okay, so there is a decrease in investment due to a reduction in the amount of savings available to the private sector. Why? Because government has started borrowing money from the public through what? Through issuing bonds. So when we are buying bonds, when we individuals buy bonds from the government, we will not have enough savings to transform into an investment to the private sector. So private borrowers will get crowded out of the financial markets as the government claims on increasing share of the economy's total savings. So what happened? The financial markets, private financial markets are there. They also go for the public bonds. So they might not be interested in the private shares. So definitely there would be not enough investment for the private sector. Okay, so we assume that income cannot be augmented. Augmented means what? Increase. So economy's flow of savings is not really fixed unless we assume that income cannot be increased. So what do we say? That savings cannot be more till, or the savings cannot be fixed. Savings are not fixed to a particular level till income increases and adds up. Okay, so if government deficits succeed in their goal of raising production, there will be more income and therefore more saving. In this case, both government and industry can borrow more. So when the government is really, through this deficit, they have borrowed, okay, and they have increased the production. Government spending, through spending only they are facing expenditure, through expenditures only they have deficit. So when the government spending is more, and then the production becomes more, the demand becomes more, and through the demand the production becomes more. The production becomes more, income gets, factors of production, they get income. Because of the income, again consumption will become more. So this will increase the saving of people, and both government and industry can borrow more from these sectors. Okay, so if the government invests in the infrastructure, future generations may be better off. So when it is going to invest their borrowings in infrastructure, in future they won't have a complaint on the taxes that they are paying. They are going to pay tax for the benefits the government has given them. Right, children? So they will not have a problem facing the taxes because the growth in debt has resulted in growth in the economy. They will say that, the government can say that we borrow to give you this particular benefit. So the future generation will not have a problem paying this debt back, repaying this through taxes, because they are also going to enjoy the welfare, or they are going to enjoy the benefit of that particular change or growth in the economy. Right? The next topic and final topic of this chapter is deficit reduction. Okay, fine. Deficit can be managed through borrowing, taxation and printing money. But is there any way of reducing the deficit? You know, at least if you are trying for a balanced budget, fine. At least the deficit should come down. Okay, because already the country has some debt, and this particular financial year, it should have what? It should have less deficit so that it does not add up to the stock of debt. Okay, children, so what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? Reduce by increase in taxes or reduction in expenditure. So there are two options. What are the two options? Increase in taxes. What is that? It is a revenue receipt. Clear? Or decrease in government spending, government expenditure. What is that? Revenue expenditure. When this is done, increase in taxes will increase revenue receipts, and decrease in government spending will reduce the revenue expenditure. So deficit reduction for the particular year starts with where the revenue deficit. So when the receipts are more than the expenditure, then it is not running a deficit. So that is the first step. Okay. So how do you increase the tax revenue? Through direct taxes, because when you talk about indirect taxes, they are custom duties, then excise duties, and they fall on everybody in the nation. Whoever buys a product without their knowledge or without their approval, without their interest, they need to pay. Okay? There are some basic things, basic necessities that every one of us have. Right, children? Whether we are poor, whether we are rich, whatever we are, we need to go for some basic necessities. So if it is collected through indirect taxes, it's going to affect the poor people a lot than the richer community. Right, children? So when you collect a direct taxes are what? Income taxes, personal income taxes. So whoever is going to get income, whoever is going to earn a lot, they are only going to pay this direct tax. So it is not going to affect the weaker section of the community. Okay, it's not going to trouble the people who earn less. Okay, this tax, direct tax, can be levied only on the people who are going to get that level income. So they are only going to pay. Okay, so that is why we have a greater reliance on direct tax, because indirect tax means it falls on everybody. It might not be fair to everybody to have this particular tax. And there is one more thing, through raising receipts through the sale of shares in PSUs. Do you remember? What are those? Capital receipts, right? Sale of shares in PSU. And what is that? A capital receipt, because it's going to have the impact in the subsequent years. And the major reduction in government expenditure. Though we have many options for deficit reduction, we always talk about what? We talk about the government spending. But do you think it's good to go with government spending? Where does the government spend is what we have to think. So that is where it gave to some private sectors also, paved way for the private sectors also. So cutting back the government programs, government spending on things related to education, agriculture, things that are connected with the welfare of the people is also not good. Though we say that government spending should be cut off, that only is unwanted. We might not know to whom they require, they need it. Right. So we cannot comment really on where government should reduce its expenditure. We can generally say that government should think about its spending, it should reduce its expenditures and it should reduce its spending. But we really cannot take in one particular thing because it is going to affect the economy in any way. Because cutting back of government expenditures on important departments like health, medicine, laying roads, infrastructure, bridges, anything is going to affect the economy in return. So government has to think a lot. The deficit increases in a recession and falls in a boom with no change in fiscal policies. That is why this FRBMA, they came with different policy statements to assess the situation in a better way. But still we do not know how far it has an impact on the government budget. What is generally told? They say that the recession, the deficit increases in a recession. How does the deficit increase? It increases in a recession. It is going on, okay, slowly, but falls in a boom, okay, and even with no change in fiscal policy. Whatever we do with the fiscal policy, we just go on with deficit. It's just whenever we have a recession, the deficit increases. Whenever we have a good year, a boom year, then it falls. What falls? Deficit falls. And the fiscal policy does not have to do anything related to that. After discussing so much, we just say that even without any change in the fiscal policy, the deficit might have and go in the government budget or in the economy itself. So deficit reduction is what is in the hands of all of us. Okay, so utilizing the resources of what we have properly will really help the future generations. We don't want them to face the burden of, the government debt in the future. So it is very important as economists, as you, it is very important to understand the implications of each and every expenditure that you do and the receipts that you get. Okay? So it is essential for you to understand the various terms that we have discussed in this particular chapter. Further, I want you to go through about FRBMA and the policy statements. A very small topic. I just want you to go through about it. What are the main features of it? You should not have a fiscal deficit to reduce it. So all these important features are given. I just want you to quickly go through it. So with this topic, we are completing this chapter and we'll be meeting in the next session to discuss about the last chapter of macroeconomics, which is going to be open economy, macroeconomics. We were discussing only our economy, Indian economy. We're going to talk about open economy in the next chapter. How is it going to relate with the other countries, how other countries' decisions are going to affect us and how our decisions are going to affect the open market is what we are going to discuss in the next video session with the new chapter. I want you to complete this chapter, okay, go through all the points, check out videos properly, answer all the worksheets, and then yes, of course, draw a concept map of this particular lesson. Make sure you have understood all the topics. After that, even if you have a doubt, yes, of course, feel free to reach me out and get your doubts clarified at the earliest.